Welcome to Somewhere in October. I'm Alex, and today we're ranking all of the 25 films that I watched in October. I also watched all the Scooby-Doo animated movies, but I'm not going to put them in this list because they're going to be in a different list, and it'll just get too riddled with Scooby-Doo because there's a lot. You know the drill. 25 didn't like it, 1 the best. Keep in mind, if you see a really good movie high on this list, I watched so many classics this month because I'm new to this. I'll make sure to keep this spoiler free. I will tiptoe around some things so you know how I felt. At 25 is Gerald's Game, the Stephen King adaptation. Objectively, when you look at the acting and how the movie looks, it's a good movie. So I don't know whether to blame Stephen King or the adaptation, but this sucked. I hate this movie, okay? I didn't think I was gonna feel this passionately about something, but I really don't like this movie. I couldn't finish the book either, so maybe that should have been a sign that it wasn't for me, but I found the Mind Game hard to read, so I said, okay, let's watch it. You know, it had some interesting aspects, I guess. We basically dove deep into long filmed childhood trauma, just gross things. At the end of the movie, we get 5 minutes of a monologue of an amazing story that I would have liked to hear more about. One that was actually scary, one that could have been creepy and dark in a more viewy experience kind of way. And then at the end, there's this, what I guess is supposed to be some like feminist woohoo moment, and it is cringe. I don't cringe at much because I'm like, you know, whatever, I don't like to yuck someone's yum, but this was stupid. 24 on my list is actually a rewatch, and it surprised me, but it's Sweeney Todd. Listen, I like the cast, I like the aesthetic, I like the story. Maybe it's because I watched more musicals this month, which you'll see lower on the list, but I just could not get through it. I couldn't finish it. I wanted to watch it, I wanted to enjoy it, but I found myself just wishing we could get to the story, get to the actors, get to their characters. The musical just ruined it for me. I could not do a rewatch, and I won't be rewatching this one again. But if you can handle musicals, it's really good. 23 is Jeepers Creepers 2. The director sucks, we all know that. Jeepers Creepers is going to be on this list as well, and rightfully so, lower down. This turned into like a teenage monster action superhero type of movie. Although we get to dive a little bit more into the creeper, it was just not what I wanted. It did not really have any of the essence of the first one, and one of the main teenage characters in this was Scott or Scotty. You can make an unlikable character, but they can't be unwatchable, okay? He was given way too many lines for the type of character he was. It honestly didn't really pay off or feed into anything. Everything in this movie could have been achieved by making him a little bit more watchable. He almost makes the movie unwatchable, so I just didn't enjoy it. Okay, those were like the 3 movies that I really didn't like. Now we're getting into the movies that they were good, they were okay, and that's coming in at 22 is Red Eye. Red Eye is basically about a hostage on a plane. There is a attack that's tied into it. We get some one-on-one with a bigger picture. It was good. Like, it's a movie you might want to watch on a movie night if you're bored. Rachel McAdams, Cillian Murphy, they are both phenomenal actors, and it shows. The ending is super corny and cheesy. It doesn't have a lot of rewatchability, but it wasn't bad. You know, there were some shots that I really liked. I did a full review on my Patreon. It was okay. It was okay. Coming in at 21 is my first anthology, which is Southbound. I liked the stories, some more than others. The Accident is probably the best one, but I honestly didn't get it. I didn't get what tied them all together, even though it did try to do that. I understand what is connected, but I don't understand how it ties together. Which, when I watch other anthologies later in this list, I was like, okay, that's an anthology. This, even after reading the reviews and the explanations, it just didn't hit for me. Some of the acting was not that great. I hate to say that, but some of it just, I don't know. I couldn't get immersed in the stories, but one story, very immersive. Coming in at 20 is Ghostbusters, the original. I've never watched Ghostbusters. I watched it on Halloween. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It had some laughs. I love the little green ghost guy, and I like the concept. I just think the whole demon story arc dragged on for so long. I would have rather more action. I was just wishing to get past that. I understood it was a plot point and it was important, but did it need to be that long? The acting is really great. It's really fun. It's not a bad movie by any means, but I don't actually know if it's something I'm gonna rewatch every Halloween. I mean, I'm gonna listen to the theme song all the time, but that's about it. We're about to get into some heavy hitters. Most of the rest of this list are really good movies. I just have to rank them based on my experience. So number 19 is The Invisible Man from 2020. I watched this as a watch along. It has Elizabeth Moss, and I don't know how she acts and gets on with her day because she gets put through the ringer in this movie. And I mean, she comes from The Handmaid's Tale, so can my girl get a happy ending, a happy story? I did like the concept. It was very freaky. And when I thought we kind of ran out of things that it was going to be because it seemed like it was going to be a mental game, there was something that happens that really just set the pace, set the tone, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is not gonna be confined to a home. This is going to go crazy, and it is going to be wild." And Elizabeth Moss just has that energy that you want in this scenario, so I really enjoyed it. Next is Cuckoo. So I did a full review. You know how I feel about this movie. It had a lot of potential. I liked the story. I liked the concept. It just didn't have a lot of payoff in terms of being a horror movie or even a thriller for that matter. It was kind of like two men with guns and their ultimate motives. That's what the action really leaned on. And the monster of this movie wasn't really that scary. They could have upped that a little bit, but the acting was really great and I like the story. So it's definitely worth watching. Coming in at 17 is Parasite. This is probably higher on my list than many other lists. Again, I have a lot of good movies coming after this. But also, I don't do well with movies that make me super uncomfortable. This is objectively a beautiful movie. This is objectively an important movie with a lot of important discussions about class and hierarchy and how we treat other people and when we find a relative ground and when we turn on each other. And I think it is so powerful and beautifully rotten. There's so many bad people, but we also get to see their good sides and their bad sides and you always wonder where it's going to go. You don't know how it's going to end, the layers upon layers. It is a really good movie. I just don't know if I would watch it again. I would probably watch it to see if I could pick up on anything else, but it's not something that the viewing experience was super exciting or super fun. It was actually kind of depressing, but I still think it was a powerful movie. The next musical on this list is Little Shop of Horrors. I love the pace of this one. The musical didn't take me out of the moment. It was fun, it was scary, it was everything I wanted it to be, and the ending is hilarious. I did not think they were gonna go full throttle, and they did, which I love them for. An adaptation of the musical is coming where I live next year, so I'm gonna go see that. That should tell you what you need to know. It's really fun. Even if you're someone who doesn't love musicals, you can handle this one. Coming in at 15 is An American Werewolf in London. This first watch is coming out soon. It's already on my Patreon, but my main channel will get it when I get time to edit. I really like this movie. The comedy really balances out the story. You get really invested in all the actors. I think the acting is great. I love the scenes of the werewolf. The transformation is iconic. You've probably heard that before. It is such a tug. I'm actually going to do a full review because you're rooting for what is the villain, but is he really the villain when he doesn't know he's the villain? This would have been a perfect movie for me if the ending was different. I am still sitting on how I feel about it. Regardless of what you think of how it ended or what you believe happened in that last moment, it was so abrupt. I felt like we were just getting to the good part and then it ended. And I just wanted more, which is not a bad thing if a movie leaves you wanting more, but I don't feel satisfied, so that's why it's not higher on the list. Number 14 is Scream. This one is higher up on my list. I know, you might not all agree. Some people think this is the best franchise, this is the best slasher, this is one of the best horror movies, and I can see why. If you are a big horror fan and you get all the references and you want something that's fun and dark, it is a masterpiece in what it does. I know I'm going to rewatch this a lot. It has such great rewatchability. I can't wait to get into the franchise because Ghostface really lends itself to be very creative. There's so many different routes it can take. I guess my issue with it or why it's not lower is that I don't really get to appreciate all the references yet. I don't get to appreciate it for what it is. In times where it was meta, I wanted it to be more dark. I wanted to be more horror. Maybe when I've had enough of horror, I can come back for the meta. Next, at number 13 is Rocky Horror Picture Show. So this is another musical. Surprising musical is this low on my list. I really love this. Tim Curry's performance alone, the fact that that is Tim Curry, he kills it. And it's another one where the musical just complements everything. The story takes the greater stance, and the music actually makes you really feel the emotion or feel the fun or the craziness of what's going on, which Sweeney Todd doesn't do for me, and that's why there's a difference there. The one thing about Rocky Horror Picture Show, it is a very good like Halloween movie. It is horror, but it's also twisted sexually, which I was not expecting. I went into this completely blind. I had no idea we were taking that turn, but it was entertaining. I loved it. I loved it. We're getting into my top 12, and I'm already debating on the places I put these in, but we're gonna go with it. They may change over time, but we're gonna go with it. Number 12 is They Live. I did a full review on my channel. They Live is about basically aliens and capitalism all in one, Big Brother kind of mindset, 1984. Roddy Piper plays this action hero who finds these sunglasses and he can see the truth. And he just goes on a spree. He's like, I'm going to end this all. I am not dealing with this. And it is so fun. I love the comedic relief, which is there's so many one-liners, the extremely long fight scene, and the commentary is just so good. The commentary probably wouldn't have the same effect if it was shoved down your throat, if it was preachy, but because it was in this action-packed, bubblegum kicking ass, watch the movie, you'll get it. It was just so fun. Coming in at number 11, this could be in my top 10 on another day, but today it's number 11, is Candyman. I loved Candyman. It was dark and disturbing, and the folklore was so rich. Candyman is iconic. My only gripe with this is I didn't get to see more of Candyman. A lot of it was building up the lore, which is not a bad thing. It's beautifully done. I did a full review on the channel if you want to check it out. I can't wait to get into more of it. I hope they don't let me down. I hope I get to see more Tony Todd. I hope I get to see more of Candyman. It was just so fun. Again, listen, this list at this point are all iconic. It's just my personal preference. In my top 10 at number 10 is Jeepers Creepers. Again, director sucks. I'm looking at this movie for the actors, everyone else who was on it. It's a good movie, guys. It was creepy. Justin Long, oh, wow. I really, really enjoyed him in this movie. This movie did a really great job of setting up the lore and keeping it creepy, keeping it dark. I did find Trish really, really annoying. I did a full review on my Patreon, but I could stand it. They have a sibling dynamic instead of a relationship dynamic, and the creeper is very interesting in itself. But this movie was so dark and disturbing, and you just felt disgusting watching it in a enjoyable kind of way, if that makes sense. Which is what we lost in Jeepers Creepers 2, which is why there's such a big distance between these two on my list. Number 9 is Jennifer's Body. This is a rewatch. I always like Jennifer's Body. Everybody loves Megan Fox, okay? Get real. And this was just a really funny movie. I didn't realize how funny it was. There was so much comedic relief, corny at times, but it worked. And it's kind of the way with Scream. They're making jokes, they're making self-aware observations. Like when someone asks her to watch Rocky Horror Picture Show and she says she doesn't like boxing, hilarious. But it's also scary. Some of the imagery is really, really freaky, and the actual lore behind what happens to Jennifer is freaky, and there's so much tension, there's so much buildup in the characters, and it ends pretty dramatically. It's both satisfying and sad because you wish some people could have got out scot-free, but they don't. So it's definitely worth a watch. Number 8 is The Lost Boys. I love The Lost Boys. I love the more relatable take on vampires. They're not some like creature that's up in their castle far away from you. They're a creature that's among you, and they have the same wants and needs as like a teenage boy apparently. But the twist really got me. This movie was so fun that the younger kids and the comic book kids work together to get the vampires. They keep all the vampire lore that we know to be true in this movie, and they apply it in a different way. The acting is great, the music is great. It's just a super fun watch. Number 7 is one of my favorite anthologies that I've watched. I haven't watched that many, obviously, but Trick or Treat. I loved this. I'm sorry, but this little Halloween guy is iconic. I actually really wanted to watch this movie because a person up the road has a decoration of him. But what I like most about this is every detail in every side story tied all together. I didn't really get that in Southbound. In Southbound, they put everyone together in the same setting, but not enough tied together. In this one, although it was separate storylines for the most part, they all came together in one way or another, and it was so great. And plus, every story plot twist got me completely. Like, I was completely shocked at all of them. And I love what this, I think it's Sam, but I love what he lives for. I love that it's about the spirit of Halloween. I will watch this every Halloween, probably twice a year, because I don't think I could wait that long. Coming in at number 6 is Premonition. This is a rewatch. You guys all know that I love this movie. I love things that discuss fate and destiny and the butterfly effect and playing around with that. So, Premonition is basically about having these premonitions that your husband is going to die or that he has died, and you keep waking up in earlier days and you're trying to keep track of what's happening and you're trying to insert yourself and change the course while also learning about the truth of your situation. And the ending is not satisfying to some and satisfying to others, but will probably leave you with existential dread, but in a good way, in my opinion. I really like this movie. This was originally my number one, which means the top 5 really knocked it out of the park for me and are some of my favorites. So coming in at number 5 is Halloween the original. This movie is so subtle and simple, but so effective in what it does. I've never been this scared so far by a movie. I was not grossed out. I wasn't disturbed. I was just scared. Like dread, paranoia, scared. I was crying. I was so scared. Although some of the acting felt a little bit off, it was just completely forgivable because the character of Michael Myers was so spooky. And I just wanted more and more. As soon as I ended, I was like, I need to watch the next one. I can't wait to see more. The stalking, the unknowing, the realization, and how just like fast paced that is. And the score is iconic. You guys all know that. It's a really great movie, and that's why it's number 5. Number 4 is another John Carpenter film, which is The Thing. Yes, it's not my number one. Personal preference. The Thing is an amazing movie, period. I loved every bit of it. There's a review on my channel right now if you want to hear me go off about it. It is brilliant. I was so immersed in the setting, the story, the lore, the characters. You didn't have to put in fluff to make me invested. When you can do that in a movie, you win me over. And it was just so creative, and it leaves so many questions unanswered, but they are answered in a way. You have to watch it to know. I don't want to spoil it, but it gives you all the answers you need, but you still don't have your question answered. And it makes you want to rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it. And when it goes from subtle paranoia to hit the fan crazy, it's crazy. The defibrillator scene, just go watch it for that. Number 3, I think this is another John Carpenter, Christine. I'm obsessed with the music in this, the score. It's on my playlist. I listen to it all the time. But I was not expecting to like this movie as much as I did. It's a Stephen King adaptation. I love Stephen King, but I hated Gerald's Game, so that doesn't mean anything to me anymore. But I was like, I'll give this a fair chance. A haunted car? Let's see how it plays out. I don't really care for cars, so I was afraid I wouldn't be able to be invested. I did a first watch and I was rooting for Arnie and Christine. Arnie is such a good character. The acting is fabulous. I like that Lee and Dennis, they put what could have been more deeply explored on the back burner and really focus on Christine and Arnie. My only complaint is I didn't get enough of Christine, or some of the kills were unfulfilling. They were kind of off screen, which I was like, come on, show me. But it is just a brilliant movie. The pacing is great. It's so spooky. Like, how am I afraid of a car? Like, how do you make me afraid of a car? The next two are a toss-up, and I think it's kind of the mood that I'm in. But coming in at number 2, my second favorite movie that I've watched in October, and it's probably of all time right now, The Hitcher. Whoa. This movie is amazing. I thought I was just going to watch a disturbing story about a hitchhiker murderer, and the first opening scene confirmed that. Oh, but it changes. It starts becoming this psychological game. It's cat and mouse. You are trying to root for and protect Jim Halsey, who is the main character who gets away from the Hitcher, while also wanting the satisfaction of the Hitcher getting taken out. But then you start to see how much control Hitcher has over the story. And the acting is phenomenal. The story is phenomenal. They know what to show and what not to show. and they know how to get under your skin. And finally, my number one, if you haven't clued in by now and you've been watching my channel, it's Donnie Darko. I kind of figured I was gonna like this movie because I like Jake Gyllenhaal, but it just blew me away. It started as this horror movie with this Frank bunny that turned into destiny, fate, time travel, the philosophy of time travel to be specific, and you're taking on this mental puzzle that you are slowly putting pieces together, but visually the movie is connecting them pretty quick. And then at the end, everything makes sense for better or for worse, and you just want to rewatch and see what you missed. It is beautiful, it is sad, it is a coming of age movie as well, so it has that charm to it. So that's my October ranked. Let me know what you think. I can't wait to rank my November movies. I've been watching some kind of bad ones, so it'll be a little bit interesting. I think it'll be more staggered. This one, it was basically 20 and up that were really good movies, so